My sixth, no. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't seen me before, my name is Heather. If you have seen me before, then you already know that my name is Heather, so welcome back. For those of you that don't know, I am in a long distance relationship with my wonderful girlfriend, Aliah, and I get asked tons of questions about long distance relationships in general. So for this week's video, I wanted to do a video about how to balance and have a healthy long distance relationship. Now, by no means am I saying that my relationship is perfect, because no relationship is perfect at all, and I don't want to come off as if I think Aliah and I's relationship is the best relationship in the whole world and that we're perfect, because that is just totally not true at all. I just get lots of questions about this, so I wanted to give you my best advice about how to have a long distance relationship that is healthy and that works well, because it is definitely very hard, and Aliah and I have over 2.5 years of experience with this, so I wanted to try my best to give my best advice on this. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. So firstly, as I said in my sort of intro, balance is key. I know that you may want to talk to your partner 24/7, and that's totally understandable. It's hard because in a long distance relationship, you don't get to spend that physical time with your partner. So you might want to spend 24/7 FaceTiming them and texting them and all of that sort of thing. But it's important to not neglect things in your real life, like your family and your friends and your hobbies and certain things that you have to do in your real life. It's important that you don't sort of neglect those to just spend time with your partner 24/7. You sort of have to have a balance. So that could be spending a few hours a day FaceTiming your partner, or the nights FaceTiming your partner, but then also not forgetting about going out with your friends and spending time with your family and doing things in your real life that make you happy, because you don't want to be staring at a screen, staring at your partner, spending time with your partner too much, because it's important to have that balance and be able to do things with your partner that make you happy, but then also do things in your real life that make you happy. Because ultimately, at the end of long distance, you don't want to have cut off your family and your friends and your hobbies in your real life, because one day your partner will be part of your real life and not just a virtual sort of thing. So my second piece of advice is to make time for specific date nights with your partner. And yes, obviously these will have to be virtual, but because things come up in real life, you could be disappointed if you are FaceTiming your partner and then suddenly your partner has to go, or suddenly you have to go, or something comes up like that. So if you set out a specific date night time every week, like Friday nights is our time, we're going to watch a movie together, we're going to journal together, we're going to do this together. If you have that specific time, you'll be less disappointed when your random FaceTimes throughout the week get interrupted. I found that this works really well for Aliah and I. We've had sort of trouble doing this during the summer and during this COVID situation while we're both at home, but I'm going to be going back to school soon and she's back at school already. So once we are both back at school, it'll be a lot easier for us to sort of have that designated date night time every week, and that's just really helpful, and I feel like it helps keep the spark alive sort of thing in your relationship, because obviously if you were together physically, you would be going on these dates, you would be going to dinner, you'd be going to movies and all of that. So, but it's important to still have that in a long distance relationship as well. My third piece of advice is to involve them in your real life as much as you possibly can. It can be tempting to just sit in your room all the time and FaceTime them there, but if it's possible, it would be nice if you could introduce them to your family and friends over FaceTime, or bring them downstairs and cook dinner with them and actually do things with them instead of just sitting on your bed FaceTiming them. And yes, I will admit, I'm not always perfect at this. And like I said in the last one, especially this summer and during these uncertain times with COVID, it has been hard to sort of actually do things with your partner. But it's important to try to, yes, involve them in your real life. I put air quotes around that, but your real life as much as you possibly can, because although long distance relationships are different from normal relationships, they are real relationships, and you want to try to make them as normal as possible, as you possibly can, if that makes sense. My fourth piece of advice is to get comfortable talking about the hard stuff. Communication is really, really important in any type of relationship, but especially a long distance relationship, because it's sort of all you kind of have most of the time. You can't be with your partner physically, so you have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to talk about the hard stuff, talk about problems when they come up, things that are making you upset. You just have to be able to talk about that. And yes, like I said, this is important in any relationship, but especially a long distance relationship. My fifth piece of advice is to try to keep that spark alive and keep the relationship exciting. It can be easy to get into a routine in a relationship, especially a long distance relationship. So it's important to do things that are fun and exciting together. Like I said earlier, have date nights, surprise your partner with gifts and little things that would make their day, and try new things together. It's really important to sort of keep that spark alive and do things other than just sit on your bed and talk to them. And yes, like I've said, for a lot of these, I can fall victim to those things. I've done a lot of these things, but Aliah and I always try to sort of do fun and new and exciting things to keep that spark alive. My sixth piece of advice is to plan for the future with your partner. Long distance relationships get serious a lot quicker than other relationships, and you sort of want to talk about this as early as you can. Obviously, don't pounce on them right when you start the relationship, but you sort of want to talk about this with your partner and figure out how you're going to end this long distance and how you are going to have your future together, because obviously long distance is not going to last forever, and you want to make sure that your ideas about the future and what you want to do in your life sort of aligns with your partner if this is going to be a serious long-term relationship, and if you are planning for sort of forever with your partner. You want to make sure that you know how you're going to end the long distance, you know where you want to end up together, and you know sort of the timeline with this relationship, because that's just sort of something that you have to think about in a long distance relationship sooner than in a normal, not long distance relationship. My seventh piece of advice is to allow things to be imperfect and messy sometimes. Some days will be really hard because, like I've said, long distance is really, really difficult, and it can be really taxing on the both of you. So you will have fights like in any relationship. You will disagree sometimes. Some days will be harder than others, and some days one of you may be having a really hard day and the other might have to pick up the slack and sort of be there for the partner. And then another day it might be the opposite. So you sort of have to let yourselves feel these emotions and let yourselves be sad sometimes, because long distance is really, really hard, and it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. So you sort of have to let yourselves be sad, let yourselves feel those emotions on some days. And I think that can be really helpful instead of trying to just push it down all the time. My eighth piece of advice is to try to do things that will help you to feel closer to your partner. It can be hard sometimes to feel close to your partner when you aren't with them physically, so you just want to try to do whatever you can to feel that closeness with them, whether that be falling asleep on FaceTime or swapping your hoodies so that you can sort of have that and have a piece of your partner, or getting something like a touch bracelet which helps you to send a tap message to your partner. Whatever it may be that will help you to feel that closeness and help your partner to feel that closeness to you is really, really important, because like I said, it can be difficult sort of have that physical connection when you aren't together. My ninth piece of advice is to learn how to care for and be there for your partner when you aren't physically together. For a lot of people, physical touch is really, really important in a relationship. And obviously with long distance relationships, you can't have that all the time. So you just sort of have to figure out what is the most helpful for your partner when you aren't physically together, whether that be loving words or distracting them. You just sort of have to figure out what works the best for them so that you can be there for them in the best way that you can. Obviously, this isn't going to fix everything, but sort of having that knowledge of what helps your partner the most when you aren't physically together is really, really important and helpful in a long distance relationship. And my 10th and final piece of advice is to never stop fighting for your love and for your relationship. Like I've said millions and millions of times, long distance is really, really hard, and some days it might feel impossible, but you always sort of want to remember that love you have for each other and put your love first, and not let the hurt and the hardship and the missing each other of long distance relationships get in the way of your love and the future that you want to have with your partner. If you know that this is the person for you, then all of the hardship that comes with long distance will be worth it for the end goal of being together physically and having your future together. So always try and put that love first, even when it feels impossible. All right, so those are my 10 pieces of advice that have helped Aliah and I to have a very strong and healthy long distance relationship. Hopefully this was able to help you in some way if you are in a long distance relationship, or even if you're not in a long distance relationship. I feel like most of these can help in a not long distance relationship. So hopefully you were able to get something out of this, and hopefully it was able to help you in some sort of way. If you guys have any other video requests for me, you can definitely leave those down below because I like to make videos that you guys want to see. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week for another video. Bye guys.